So the Johannesburg Council is gearing up to elect a new mayor. This is following the resignation of Kabelo Gwamanda on Tuesday. The ANC's Dada Morero is touted to be the next mayor. The speaker's position is also said to be challenged by Action SA. But let's make sense of the latest developments surrounding the leadership in the city. And we bring in the DA's Johannesburg Caucus leader, Belinda Kayser-Echeozonjuku, for more on this discussion. Belinda, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think let's start off with the news coming out of Kabelo Gwamanda on Tuesday with that resignation. Was this a step in the right direction for the city?
Good morning, Naledi, and good morning to the viewers. Well, we're not surprised that the executive mayor has resigned. We know that he was completely out of touch with what was happening in the city of Johannesburg. What we're concerned about is that it just brings in more instability, because we are not even sure whether there is, how it will affect service delivery, because we know that we've had this merry-go-round of mayors. But we're not surprised that he has resigned because we knew that he was not up to the task anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people are having this discussion around whether it is his performance and, measuring service delivery in the city and then really placing some of those challenges on him, when many are saying, well, those challenges have been in place regardless of whether you had him there or even Mphapalatsi, for instance, right? And the reason why I raise that is whether or not this is a political move and more so than it is a service delivery discussion.
The issue is not really whether it is a political move or a service delivery. The reality is that service delivery has deteriorated under this administration with Gwamanda at the helm of it. We've seen that there has not been communication between the different MMCs in the executive. There were times where we had requested for public participation to be, very inclusive. Because it's the only way that you'll be able to do proper service delivery. The challenge we had is that throughout this time there were infighting, and that is why we're concerned about the stability that is causing the instability this is causing. Because once again, if we elect a mayor now, are we sure that in a few months' time we are not going to have to elect another mayor? So the issue is about service delivery, and it is about stability for the residents of Johannesburg. And unfortunately, we don't see that happening with the current crop, where there are talks that the mayor's now gone. By the way, he's only gone tomorrow because his resignation is only effective tomorrow. And we're not even sure whether there will be stability. So it is about the whole executive. It is about the infighting. It is about service delivery collapsing under this whole administration, not only the executive mayor.
Yeah, but what is the DA caucus's, I suppose, discussions going into that council meeting that takes place tomorrow? I mean, what is your plan of action going in?
Okay, what we've done last night, we explored various options. Obviously, the 71 councillors in the DA caucus, we discussed even with our national and provincial leadership, what is important for us is stability. And we believe that the only way we will get stability is if we go in for fresh elections. There are other options that are being explored, which is still currently under discussion. But at this point in time, we are looking at, getting to council and asking that we call for fresh elections. Okay, so
let's understand what that means. So fresh elections, not of the mayor, you're talking about voters?
Voters, fresh. If in any democracy, if we have this kind of instability, the only way is to take it back to the voters who gave us this result in 2021. Go back to the voters and see if they will not give a fresh mandate with possibly a better hand at the party or the politicians, the political party that they would want to get a better idea, to have a second bite at elections, and see if there won't be a different outcome.
Okay, but let's explore that idea. The city of Johannesburg goes back to the voters and says, you elect your leadership all over again, as you did in 2021. And what are the time frames that we're looking at? Because for service delivery and for people on the ground, They want to see that stability that trickles into that service delivery. What are the timeframes that you're looking at in this plan of action that you put forward?
What would normally happen is we would put in a motion to dissolve the council, and then the city has 90 days within to have fresh elections, fresh by-elections, and it will be about 90 days. And in that time, then none of us will have positions, and all of us will then be able to convince the voters that we can have a better offer. But as I said, those are one of the options that we discussed last night in our very crucial caucus meeting. There were other options, which I'm not going into detail now because that is still under consideration as well.
Yeah, because for someone listening, that this could say that you're asking for 90+ days of a leadership vacuum in the economic hub of our country.
Remember, in 2021, we had, the administration don't stop working because as much as the political leadership is not there, there is, a core administration, the city manager, the different entities still have to do their work. And at the end of the day, the accounting officer, who is a city manager, is in charge of the administration where that happens, which was the case in 2021 when the city manager had to call for the elections, had to preside over those elections until the mayor was elected. But as I said, we have explored other options as well, which are currently under discussion as well.
Okay, so and we'll wait to hear what those options are. Hopefully they'll be revealed to us tomorrow in that council meeting. But we've got quite a bit to get through. The ANC tomorrow puts forward Dada Morero as their candidate for mayor. Do you support that decision?
Mr. Morero, Councillor Morero, was part of the current administration, which we believe have failed the residents. They came in guns blazing, talking about the fact that Dr. Palatse at the time, the DA, did not deliver. And they were talking about, when we mentioned that it's only 13 months that we were in government at the time. The mayor is exactly making the same argument at the moment, and Mr. Morero was is part of that administration. So we don't believe just changing the mayor is going to, changing the mayor with a different person on the executive is necessarily going to change things. Okay. So we'll see in council tomorrow. Those are some of the options we are discussing.
Are you in support of the current Johannesburg Council Speaker, Margaret Arnolds of the AIC, staying on?
Well, we haven't seen any motion to remove her. We haven't seen any item on the agenda, and we haven't seen her resignation. In the absence of that, we can't really say much because she has been elected, and she will be presiding tomorrow as well. So we don't have any view yet until we receive anything different from the council.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we're going to hear from political parties, because obviously processes need to be followed. But do you believe that the minority parties such as the AIC and Al-Jamaa, smaller parties that essentially were brought in as a compromise between the bigger parties, the ANC and the EFF, for instance, should retain these positions in local government after the GNU agreement at national level?
Well, we have a challenge. It's precisely one of the reasons why we believe that there shouldn't be this merry-go-round of mayors, and why the council should be reviewed completely, because you will find that in the current situation, you have smaller parties who got a smaller chunk of the voice of the residents, are having quite a big say in what happens in council. And that is a concern for us. And that is one of the reasons why we say, and most of the time it goes about for positions and not necessarily service delivery. And we find that a lot of the parties that are smaller are negotiating not necessarily in good faith, right, but are just negotiating based on positions and not necessarily a principled agreement as to what them being in particular positions are going to change for the residents. And those are some of our concerns.
You know, yesterday,
as well.
Apologies for jumping in, I'm trying to maximize the time here. Belinda, yesterday we spoke to Nkululeko Dunga, Gauteng chairperson of the Economic Freedom Fighters, and one of the things that he highlighted, that even though they're not part of the government of national unity, he did mention that the EFF and the ANC have a very cordial, what he called a good and cordial relationship in Gauteng. And I wonder what that says then about where that leaves the Democratic Alliance, certainly not part of the government of provincial unity in Gauteng. How would you describe the state of the government of local unity and the DA's relationship with the ANC as it stands in Johannesburg?
Well, our relationship, you know, at local government, it works very differently, because you'd have seen in some cases where there's an item on the agenda that has to do with service delivery. As you know, the DA has got about 43 ward councillors. And what is important for us, if there's an item on the agenda that is about service delivery, where we can have a discussion with regards to service delivery on that item on the agenda that comes to council, we talk to everybody. However, when it comes to a formal coalition agreements, we don't have any relationship with the EFF, if I can put it that way, and also neither with the ANC at local government level. But where there is issues that concerns the residents, because the ANC also has ward councillors, we know that if an item comes to council, if it affects DA ward councillors, it will affect other parties that have ward councillors like the ANC.
Yeah.
So we do talk to everybody in terms of service delivery as items come to council.
Yeah, very interesting how that things change as you go down the strata. But we really do appreciate your time. Belinda Kayser-Echeozonjuku, who is the DA Johannesburg Caucus leader, this morning, speaking to us ahead of that council meeting that's set to take place tomorrow. The aim there to elect a new mayor for Johannesburg after Kabelo Gwamanda resigned, and that resignation taking effect tomorrow. And what we hear from the Democratic Alliance in Johannesburg this morning is that one of the options they're looking at is to call for a motion to resolve council, and also looking for fresh elections, looking for the residents of Johannesburg to re-elect the leaders of the city.